President Trump has just made a shockingly unprecedented announcement, crypto kids, that changes everything. But before going into that, I have to illustrate the Bitcoin bearish pennant that is currently forming on the 1 hourly time frame. We went into the nitty-gritty together with Isaac Crypto on the Moonshow channel when we streamed the producer prices data live. And what both myself and Isaac have noticed over the past years of trading Bitcoin is that usually we end up breaking these bearish pennants to the upside with a fake out, we collect liquidity, and then we run lower. Traditionally, I would take a short on Bitcoin right now, but I'm refraining in doing so because of President Trump's latest announcement from 1 hour ago. And secondly, we have tomorrow the largest IPO in human history that's going to make Elon Musk the first ever trillionaire by tomorrow morning. He literally will become a trillionaire tomorrow morning. It's an IPO where retail traders have access to 20% of the full allocation. They're apparently trying to borrow money to buy into this thing at a $1.75 trillion valuation, where SpaceX will be valued more than the world's largest aviation companies combined. It's a ridiculous evaluation. They make $12 billion per year. $1.75 trillion is totally unjustified, and people will jump in with leverage, guys. It's a recipe for disaster. I will cover this at the end of the video. Please watch it. It's so relevant for crypto and everything else. I recommend staying tuned until the end. To understand the bearish pennant and everything else, including inflation, we must go through what happened today in the geopolitical scenery. At 4:26 p.m., President Trump posts on Truth Social that the United States will very tragically be resuming strikes in Iran, and that they will be taking Kharg Island, which controls over 90% of exports on oil for Iran. But 5 hours later, just 5 hours later, thankfully, Trump cancels the scheduled strikes and says that discussions and final points have been in both concept and great detail approved in reference to a peace deal by all parties involved. A naval blockade will remain in full force still until the transaction is finalized, but things seem to be going in a good direction. Stock market started surging after Trump made his de-escalatory posts like he has been doing for the past 4 months when he noticed that the stock market was heading lower. A day before the largest IPO in history, the stock market surged. The video interview he gave 1 hour ago changed how I see this entire thing. Like, I assumed it was a ploy to maybe pump up the stock market, but it looks to be like a serious step, the most serious step taken over 4 months to really conclude the tragic conflict that is currently occurring within the Middle East. Please take a listen to what Trump has said during this live stream.
Stock market's up 1,000 points.
Yeah, we know
that.
that.
A great settlement of the war with Iran. And we're going to be subject to finalization of documents. We should get done over the next few days. We'll probably have a signing maybe in Europe. And it's a great thing.
So Trump says they're actually going to be settling the war with Iran with a signing that can potentially take place this weekend in Europe. We don't have confirmation from Iran's side, which makes it like it can't be registered as war is over until the other party says that they agree to it and until the full deal is actually signed. So this is not going to be a full deal. It's going to be an MOU. So the signing they refer to is not for the final deal, but rather a memorandum of understanding for reaching peace. It's an MOU for a deal. It's a deal for a deal. It's not the final thing. The whole conflict is up in the air as of now, even after President Trump's bullish announcement, in my opinion. I'm praying to God daily that it finishes in the most peaceful way possible as soon as possible. Iran mentioned that if US accepted their text, then it's good to go. We just don't have the clarification on whether if US accepted Iran's text or if US sent a proposal to Iran. We don't know the details. Vance will be there for the signing, Trump says, this weekend in Europe, apparently. So I just have to see how this whole thing unfolds in order to make leverage trades on Bitcoin. Tomorrow, SpaceX IPO is kicking in. Very volatile. Massively volatile. TradFi Day is just around the corner. It'll be live streamed on the Moonshow channel, and I'll make a video right after launch here on CryptoKid. Make sure you're subscribed and make sure you have the notification bell on to watch it when it goes live. It'll be time sensitive. So retail traders are borrowing money to buy SpaceX at a significantly high valuation that makes zero logic. SpaceX makes like what, 12 to 13 billion dollars of profit per year, and they're valued at close to 2 trillion. No. It's clearly overhyped. Retail investors are buying with over $100 billion in orders. They're one of the largest participators in the IPO. Retail is one of the largest participants in the IPO. With our knowledge from what happened before with major stock initiations like SpaceX, I think all of us have understood a very valuable lesson. That they go down. They fall. Like a coin launching on a tier 1 exchange. Initially, they fall like what Meta did, 54% from peak to trough. And they end the year down being 31%. The median major IPO lost 31% in its first year. It lost 30% in its first year. And actually, if you were to opt into the S&P 500 instead of an IPO for the first 3 years, you would have reached double the IPO's performance. I think the evaluation is too crazy. It's near a stock market cycle top anyways. And I think it's just going to make things worse. So I'm completely refraining from this. The short-term speculators will want to dump for a quick flip, a quick profit. That could send the S&P 500 in a short-term bounce with the frenzy, but then an ultimate drop. We do have a little bit of a W formation happening here. Maybe we can get to a lower high and then drop. Uncertain. Right now, things are uncertain. And I prefer not taking a trade in uncertain environments, geopolitically, with IPOs, and with interest rates. And from countless trades, what you come up with is that, you know what? Taking no trade can also be a trade. Taking no trade can sometimes be the most profitable trade you take. Not always, very rarely, but with everything that we've covered, taking no trade will be the decision I give for tomorrow and leading into early next week, whilst continuing my spot Bitcoin buys. You all know that I'm super bullish on Bitcoin, and you all know the relative reasonings. Last thing, before we end off today's updates, Japanese interest rates coming out on June 15th, 16th will be major for global liquidity. Keeping an eye on that. This afternoon, the European Central Bank decided to raise interest rates by 25 basis points. When the ECB raise rates, the Fed tends to follow. The ECB will raise rates by another 40 basis points according to traders. If we get that in a place with high crude oil prices, 6.5% producer prices, 4.2% CPI, even more liquidity is going to be extracted. If the war comes to a conclusion, oil will correct into $67. Inflation will not reverse overnight, don't get me wrong. So interest rates will still need to be relatively staying at very, very high levels, either where they are now or at a rate hike, because we've come to a territory with CPI where it's the same as when we had the $4 trillion in pandemic stimulus and doubling of M2 money. without seeing any sort of quantitative easing model. Very concerning. Better for me to stay out, observe, and update you guys along the way. I can't believe Truflation is predicting a 1.83%. I respect them. According to their research, they aggregate 35 million data points from 70 plus providers daily to come up with these figures. But how can we be at lower inflation to pre-war levels after 4 months of elevated crude oil pricing? Makes zero sense. So I think inflation has gone through the roof. Bitcoin should still continue lower, follow its 4-year cyclicality. No FOMOing, buying the dips all the way through the rest of the year and keeping a close eye on the markets. My strategy. If you'd like to be trading Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, do check out the links in the description if you want to support the channel. With our current partners, you can get incredible bonuses like BTCC. Second link in the description gives you up to 30,000 in sign-up bonus plus 10% deposit bonus and 33% discount on trading fees. All you need is an account with code CryptoKid, email address, and password. That is it. Leave a like, guys, if you found today's video useful, and I'll see you all on the SpaceX IPO tomorrow. Take care, and as always, bye-bye.